Hello, welcome to Faber Booktime. My name is Judith Eagle and I'm an author. I didn't always want to be an author. When I was growing up, I dreamed of seeing my name in lights. I wanted to be a famous dancer or a famous actress or a pop star. I ended up, when I was grown up, doing lots and lots of different jobs. My most recent job is working in a school library, and I love this job, and working amongst books reminded me how brilliant children's books are. And so I decided that I would try and write my own book, inspired by some of my favourites, like The Wolves of Willoughby Chase, The Secret Garden, and Emil and the Detectives. So the two books that I've written are The Secret Starling and The Pear Affair. And if you like books that have really twisty, turny adventures with lots of shocks and surprises, then you will like these. And they're also a little bit historical. So The Secret Starling is set in the 1970s in London and Yorkshire, and The Pear Affair is set in the 1960s in Paris. So I'm going to read to you today from The Pear Affair. It'll give you a little taste of what is to come. Chapter 1. It wasn't unusual for Melinda to mutter that her daughter was nothing more than unwanted baggage. She'd use those actual words, along with utter nuisance and dead weight. Nell was used to it now, but when she was little, they had pierced her heart like sharp arrows tipped with ice. Je t'adore, ma petite, Pear had said, when Nell reported what she had heard, tears stinging her eyes. Pear had been Nell's au pair before she had been packed off to boarding school. Her real name was Perrine, and she was from Paris. You're too old for an au pair, Melinda had said on Nell's 7th birthday. I'm fed up with you two jabbering away in French. The thought of it still made Nell burn hot from head to toe. Pear was the sweetest, kindest person in the whole wide world, more of a mother or a father than Melinda and Gerald had ever been. The day of their parting had been so swift, so sudden, so viciously unexpected, that Nell felt like a wolf had tossed her up in the air and then with tooth and claw torn her apart. She still didn't really understand what had happened. It was a question she had asked her parents again and again, but instead of giving her answers, they had sent her to Summer's End, which was a horrible place, the sort of boarding school where the dormitories are always freezing cold and the food has to be choked down or you will starve. Nell sighed and stretched her legs out in front of her so that she could examine the damage done to her jeans. With a needle and a thread she could fix them. Pear had taught her how to sew. She remembered Pear's hand over hers, the flash of the silver needle, the pull of the thread. Her heart ached a little. She had loved Pear with all her might. The memory of their time together were far, far away, but they still had a golden tinge. Nell and Pear in the kitchen making banana splits, Pear squirting them with cream moustaches, Nell and Pear playing hide and seek or French skipping with knicker elastic. Nell curled up in bed, listening to endless stories about child runaways. The memories were like a glorious patchwork quilt, each square different, pieced together in Nell's mind. Nowadays, Nell wasn't sure what was worse, being ignored at home or being stuck at school. Then there was the inexplicable fear of the dark, which had struck the day that Pear had left, and the constant feeling of dread that only shifted when one of Pear's letters arrived. For 5 solid years, Pear had written once a month, pages and pages of loops and swirls, always in turquoise ink. The letters were so rich and so vivid that even if Nell was in the deepest of deep, dark doldrums, they never failed to lift her up. Pear wrote reams and reams about her life in Paris, her tiny top-floor apartment, her cat, Sylvie, her work as an embroiderer for Crown Couture. But best of all was the line that always appeared at the end. One day I will come and rescue you. Stay patient, my little friend. But 6 months ago, the worst had happened. The steady flow of letters stopped. January, February, March, April, May, June, not one letter. Suddenly, there was nothing to look forward to. A cold, sharp stone wedged itself into the pit of Nell's stomach and refused to budge. Of course she had written again and again to the address in Belleville, feverish letters pleading for a reply. Nothing came. Nell's feelings had progressed from concern to anger and eventually fear. On very bad days, she was convinced that Pear had abandoned her. On less bad days, she worried that something terrible had happened to Pear. But what could that be? Now, after 6 letterless months, here she sat between the mean-faced cats, waiting for her parents to remember they had a daughter. At last, the gates swung open, and the roll, was it a new one? Nell was pretty sure it had been read before, purred up the drive. Good God, Gerald! Nell could hear Melinda shrieking before she had even climbed out of the car. She was dressed in head-to-toe white as usual, an affectation intended to set off her silvery cap of white blonde hair. What's Penelope doing here? Is it the summer holidays already? But we're off to Paris tomorrow. Nell stood, a tangle of muddy brown hair, freckles and torn jeans. Her hand, which she had raised in greeting, froze. In one fell swoop, the despair which had bogged her down for days and weeks and months disappeared, and a wild thread of hope surged through her. Escaping to Paris had been something she had planned and hoped and dreamed of for years and years. Nell does get to go to Paris. She has terrible trouble finding Pear. She discovers a vast network of underground tunnels below Paris, and she gets swept up into an even bigger mystery that threatens the whole of Paris.
Hello and welcome to Faber Booktime. My name is Kim Geyer and I'm a children's book illustrator. And I have had the absolute pleasure of illustrating Judith Eagle's books. When I was little, I wanted to be all sorts of things. I wanted to be a ballet dancer, a vet, a sailor, but I was always drawing, and I would draw on any surface. I would draw on my wallpaper, and when I ran out of room in my bedroom, I would draw on other people's walls. And then I started drawing on book covers at school, and I used to get into a bit of trouble for that. I love drawing more than anything else in the world. I love to draw people, and I love drawing expressions. And Judith has written some absolutely fantastic characters in the Pear Affair, and there's lots of amazing expressions. So I'd like to show you next how to maybe draw some expressions on faces, maybe surprised or alarmed looks. So if we turn to page 200 and chapter 22, you can see the chapter heading there, and that Nell thinking, what on earth is going on? And she's wondering whether or not this would be a great opportunity to escape. So what I'd like to do is show you Nell looking like that. Okay, so first of all, you need a pencil. I use a medium soft pencil, and a rubber piece of paper. And first thing to do is very softly, because this is just guidelines, draw in what I call a squashed mango shape, like that. And that's the shape of her head, okay? And you'll notice that she's not looking straight at us. She's looking to the side. So if she was looking straight at us, I would draw a line straight down the center here, and all the features would come off that. But instead, the guideline is going to be to the side because that's where she's looking, like that. Okay, and then about a third of the way down, I'm going to draw a line across, which would be approximately where her eyes are. You can see already it's beginning to look, a little bit like a face. And then a little bit further down for her nose, and halfway through that line and the chin, another line for her mouth. Okay, so I'm going to start off with her nose, and it's a kind of kinky kind of L shape like that. All these things that you draw are shapes and wiggles. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to bring the mouth up slightly and do a backward C, and then like a wonky tadpole. Press harder on the pencil here, colour that in, and that's her mouth. So we're getting the expression through the mouth already. I'm now going to, I think her chin probably could be a little bit higher, so I'm just going to do that and rub this line out at the bottom. We'll get rid of that. Okay, next is Nell's eyes, and they're big, wide open, surprised, alarmed, confused, what's going on eyes, so they're big like this. Another one here, and slightly like that. She's looking down. So a circle within a circle. And you probably know what those little circles are. We'll come back to those later. Then I'm going to now draw her hair, and Nell Magnificent has got magnificent hair. So again, using the guidelines, come down here. I'm going to start approximately about, I guess, a quarter of the way up and start drawing her wild hair. And this is what I absolutely loved about drawing Nell, was that she had this crazy hair that tended to have a mind of its own. And I drew it with lots of these sort of S-shaped snake-like squiggles. So her hair was doing its own thing. And you could really go to town on that. I'll just do that like that. Parting. She has a curl that tends to sort of fall over her eyes. And then I'm going to draw over her eye. Doesn't matter about that because we can rub this out. More squiggles, more wild hair, like so, like that. And now we're going to tidy it up a little bit. And this is why I say it's a really good idea to put your first marks down really quite lightly, because then if you don't want to keep them, you can rub them out and no one knows that they were ever there. Okay. Next is to draw the eyebrows, and the expression is really in the mouth and the eyes, really important. So her eyebrow is going up slightly here, like that. Again, that's a funny sort of shape, like that. And then the other one is going down, like that, behind the hair. Okay, and then we could colour those in. And I'm pressing a little bit harder, like so. That's it. And then I'm going to put some detail in the eye. So just a little bit harder there. That's the eyelashes. And then pressing harder here, like this, for the eye. And that little circle was the circle for the highlight of light in her eye, like so. All right. So, and then lighter shading for the nose, like so. And then for the cheeks, because I gave her flushed cheeks, like so. And then also she had freckles like this. All right. And I think it would help now at this point to have a neck. It's a good idea to put a neck in, it kind of finishes it off. There we go, and she was wearing a bellboy outfit. Always a good idea to show a little bit of neck and a little bit of clothing. There we go, like that. And then if we had time, we could do some more squiggles in here and maybe shade them in with some lovely shading, dark and light. There we are. Just tidy that up a little bit more, like so. And that is now magnificent, and her magnificent expression. So I hope you enjoyed that, and think about how you might like to draw some expressions. Okay, bye for now.